Call of Duty, if you were hoping that it was finally going to make the full jump over to the current generation of consoles and leave behind the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, it looks like that will not be the case. Call of Duty 2025 is in development, and it looks like the Xbox One and PS4 will still be getting their version of the game itself. Now, this isn't surprising, especially when you look at the games that people play mainly. You look at the amount of people that haven't jumped over still in 2025 to Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. A number of reasons for that. One, I mean, there's been really no big price drops. We've gotten price increases more so than anything when it comes to this console. And you generally see in previous generations that by the time we're past the halfway point as to how long these generations are going to last, you see a price drop, you see bundles, you see more incentives to try to transfer people over to the current gen of console. It just hasn't happened this gen. Right from the beginning, inventory was low. You had to wait like 2 years before you could walk into a store and pick up one of these consoles. And we're still not even at a point where we're getting deep discounts on these things to try to push as much of these units as possible. So that is one major reason. The other thing is we've seen the player numbers. Most people on console are continuously just playing these same games, the games as a service games. Call of Duty is still a top seller every single year. It's a top seller in January, even though it launches into Xbox Game Pass. So there's many reasons. If the game is available on the platform you currently have, and it's like the only game that you play, what incentive do you have to jump over to the next generation? Now, going forward to this year, people were hoping that they would finally drop PS4, Xbox One, and that would lead to some gameplay advancements, some more graphical advancements, even though these games already look absolutely phenomenal. Looks like that's not going to be the case. We have this report here from Insider Gaming, and they corroborate here with Charlie Intel that their sources have been able to corroborate that the report that the game is in development for the PS4 and the Xbox One is happening, and that we will continuously see this game released there. We've had some reactions to it. In fact, one of the reactions says, studios having to support 12-year-old hardware is bad for the industry and holds back the full potential of games. It's time to move on. This person says, crazy, but not surprising. Still a ton of people on there. And the game scales to low-end hardware, and the game engine can even play on phones. Now, as we have seen with Warzone Mobile, we go down here to X and you see some more responses. I know there are players still on the old-gen consoles, but man, 12-year-old hardware holding back progression of the game sucks. Honestly, if you don't have a PS5 by now, at this point, it's on you. When PS4 released, they ditched PS3 quick as ASF. So why are they still watering down games just so they can be playable for the last gen consoles? Anyways, it doesn't matter. Once GTA 6 comes out, we will all be ditching COD. That's an interesting point, but the reality is they are still supporting these platforms because they need to sell as many copies as possible. They want to sell as many copies as possible. People still buy them on PS4 and Xbox One. And are these games watered down because of that? I would argue and say, well, not really. I mean, they do look great. They added some new movement system and physics to Black Ops 6. It plays very well. So I don't know how much it actually is watered down, but of course it potentially could be better if they didn't have to keep the PS4 and the Xbox One in mind. This is also brings towards the question that the funniest thing of all we've seen this generation, and people still harp on this, is that the Series S is the thing holding games back when we just had the PlayStation State of Play, and there were so many games in that State of Play that were still coming out on the PS4. The reality is, it's definitely not the Series S. If anything is holding back this generation, it's last generation. What we generally see, it's nothing new. Games still get released for the last gen for a long time. The question you have here is that without the reduction of price, without any real incentive for people to jump over to this current generation, there's diminishing returns as well in terms of graphics and everything. It's not like a massive jump. What will happen with the next gen, with PS6, with the next Xbox? Are they going to continue to support the PS4 and the Xbox One, specifically with Call of Duty, even with new hardware on the horizon? I believe they did with the Xbox 360 for a game or so, and that was kind of a disaster in the way that the game looked and played and everything. But I think that they will. I feel like when PS6 comes out, because we're maybe 2 years away from the release of a PS6 and the release of the next Xbox, I think that Call of Duty could potentially still be on the PS4 and the Xbox One, which is crazy to think about. And it brings up that whole question of generation to generation in consoles right now. There really isn't a big gap between them. The returns are absolutely diminishing. You see slight upgrade in graphics. The biggest things that are improved now on consoles isn't even the way that the games look. It's more like the features on the console, specifically the SSD was a huge jump in terms of loading time. You think about the Xbox Series X and S, you have features like quick resume as well as that backwards compatibility, which was there on the Xbox One X, but auto HDR, the FPS boost, those are the things that are the major benefits from console to console. Not really the upgrade in graphics and gameplay at this point. We're basically in that point that you don't see a huge jump. So Call of Duty 2025 looks like it's still coming out for the PS4 and the Xbox One. I think a lot of people will be disappointed because I thought I was reading that they were potentially thinking about abandoning this thing. And you have to also think maybe Xbox is looking at this from the point of view is that if they're keeping this in Game Pass day one, they need to make sure that they get as many sales as possible, and cutting off how many millions that are still out there on the PS4 and the Xbox One just does not make any sense. So I'll end the video there, guys. If you did enjoy this video, hit that thumbs up. If you're new, hit that subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.